Well, many thanks indeed for still staying with us right here on the Monday Report on Citizen TV. Shortly, we'll be taking you back to that Citizen TV town hall. A very exciting conversation happening right now at the Catholic University. But before that, in terms of matters graft, we spoke to a cross-section of Kenyans to understand how graft affects them directly and, of course, what they perceive as possible solutions to this vice. Let's take a look at what some of them had to say from different parts of the country. Let's take you to Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. This is what this gentleman had to say about that.
Unasikia kuna mtu ambaye amenunua shamba mahali kwa pesa za serikali, hiyo inaniathiri kama mimi wananchi. Sababu ile pesa zenye zilikuwa zinafaa kwenda kufanya kazi fulani ama mradi fulani ya wananchi, unapata amefanya na imeingia mfuko yake. Tunataka kupigana mambo ya ufisadi as a president vile alisema. Lakini watu wengi ambao wako corrupt ndio hawapendi hii mambo ya kufuatwa. Kama ulifanya makosa mahali, kama umeiba mahali, hawataki kuitikia kwamba nimefanya kitu fulani 1 or 2. Unajua zamani Raila ndiye alikuwa anatufijulia siri kulingana na ufisadi. Ikawa wakati alikuwa kule anaangalia na akisema watu hawakuwa wanaitikia, lakini kwa sasa mambo yenye inaendelezwa na serikali pamoja na Uhuru Kenyatta pamoja na Raila na viongozi wengine, naona hii watafaulu. Wacha tuitikie kama sisi raia kwamba ukiwa umepatikana na ufisadi ufungwe, rais asirudi nyuma. Hata kama wengine wanatuzi rais, wengine wanatuzi Raila, lakini asirudi nyuma. Naona kama atafaulu.
Speaking with one voice and a bit of politics there, even as the discussion on graft continues. Let's now take you to Voi and hear what residents there have to say.
Tungesema Rais Uhuru Kenyatta aite kama national disaster because ufisadi umekithiri sana nchini. Na pia tukisema ufisadi umekithiri na kuna njia nyingi tunaona serikali inajaribu kutatua hii mambo ya ufisadi katika nchi yetu ya taifa la Kenya. Lakini mambo ya ufisadi tusiyaweke katika hali ya kisiasa vile tunavyoona.
All right, some thoughts there from Voi. Now, our question today, we are asking you, what more should be done in the fight against corruption? It's not a poll, so there's no yes or no. It's rather your views. We want to hear from you. What more should be done in the fight against corruption? Keep talking to us, 22422. We are seeing your tweets, we're seeing your SMSs, and that's what I want to pick on one or two briefly here. Let me see what Amwai Brand has to say. The only thing that has been done is pointing out and nothing else happens after that. We need to sentence the culprits, recover whatever is stolen and not politicize the fight. Plus, the judiciary take less time with the cases so that we move forward. Any new ones here? Let me see if I can get a quick one here. Okay, no, seems not for the moment. I'll get some more and give them to you a bit later on. Let me now take you back to Catholic University. Trevor Mbija, of course, and the team there on standby with Mashrima Kapombe. Continue that discussion regarding graft. Over to them.
Town Hall, tukiwa katika chuo kikuu cha Catholic University. Tunaendelea tu kupokea maswali kutoka kwa wananchi ambao wamefika hapa. Kwa sasa nataka kumpatia fursa Alex Cherop. Simama tafadhali.
Asante Mashrima. Swali langu linaenda kwa office of DPP na EACC. Inasemekana kwamba like your independence is not independent as such. So I want to ask like what are you doing to assure the public that you are independent enough? Secondly is that
just one question. Yeah. Thank you. I think that question goes to Dorcas and Vincent. Is your independence devoid of political interference?
EACC is an independent institution under the Constitution and is subject and reports only to Parliament on the matters that we handle as such. But we are publicly funded like any other public institution, and to that extent we have to rely on public coffers. But in terms of carrying out our mandate, in terms of operational independence, the EAC is very independent.
Does that come with limitations now that you are depending on public funds?
Not really. In fact, the last 5 years we have seen a major increase in the funding of EACC. So we have no interference at all in the manner in which we carry out our investigation and take matters to the DPP. I think the political environment is awash with a lot of issues, but from where we sit, we know we are independent in doing our job.
Dorcas?
The independence of the DPP is anchored in the Constitution, and when he is making the decision to charge, the DPP is independent and should not be influenced by any person or authority. And I can confirm that the DPP acts independently and objectively and is not influenced by any extraneous matters, and he has stood by that. And I think you can witness that for the decisions that have been made by the DPP, they are perfect in the eyes of the person who is making the decision, and all over the world the decisions that we have made will pass as good decisions.
Okay. Mashirima?
Hebu sasa tumpatie nafasi Mary Muli.
Asante. I'm Mary Muli, a student from the Center of Social Justice and Ethics. I would like to ask how the people at the grassroots are being brought on board as we continue to feel the sting of corruption, how they are being helped to raise their issues on corruption, and how they are being enabled to know what they are facing and how they can counteract that to bring a counter narrative. Thank you.
Kuna swali kama hilo ambalo limeulizwa pia kwenye mtandao wa Twitter. Mmoja anauliza, ni rahisi kulipa hongo ya 1,000 ama uende kotini upigwe faini ya 30,000?
All right. Go ahead, Dorcas.
Yes. And I think that's a very good question, because in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the DPP has strategically decided that dealing with petty offenses will be our strategic objective. So we are coming up with mechanisms how we can have alternatives to prosecutions, how we can have alternatives to trial, which is plea bargaining and diversion. And we are relooking at our decision to charge and what we need to take somebody to court, and the report will be ready. But of late, what we have been doing, we have been having dialogues with the citizens, and we started by going to Kayole. We can only do it within our mandate, so that we sensitize them on their mandate. We look at the youth and how we can humanely prosecute them and make sure that they are rehabilitated and back to society. And from the 18th of this month to the 22nd of this month, we'll be at the Lamu prison, and we'll be looking at all the cases that are pending in prison. But at the same time, we'll take that opportunity to dialogue with the members of the public, and especially the youth, on how they can cooperate with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions to fight crime. And at the same time, how they can get value in just punishment, so that when they are in conflict with the law, they are treated as they deserve, and such that we do not criminalize poverty, and we do not criminalize people who are not represented, and we make sure that as and when they need rehabilitation, they need other kind of punishment, it is available to them. So that is a strategic objective of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and we'll do it in all the counties in this country.
All right. Mashirima?
Marvin, simama tafadhali. Swali lako.
My name is Marvin from Kiambu County, and in the recent past, the EACC chairman and the Kotu Secretary General have confirmed that money is stored in people's houses. What are you doing about that? And in whichever capacity, does the president have the powers to say, for example, all the denominators of 1,000 shillings note should be returned in a period of, say, 1 week, and if somebody does not return that money, the currency can be declared that it does not even work?
Who's going to answer that?
Yes, you see, through our investigative processes, we are able to now trace and establish where some of these monies are being kept. And we are asking Kenyans of goodwill to come forth and also provide information to the Commission so that we act appropriately and promptly. So yes, we are able to trace money, even those which are kept in cash, and when we get, we seize and preserve some of those particular exhibits. Two, I am not able to respond to the issue of changing the notes, but I think it's a good idea. It has worked in other jurisdictions where changing of notes have helped mop up some of these monies that are kept in the houses, and it will also help to unearth some of the areas where these monies have been stored and we are not able to get them. So it's a good thing, and I think the conversation around it should be escalated to the higher levels.
All right, Mashirima.
Na swali lingine hapa ni kuhusiana na katiba na vita dhidi ya ufisadi. Robin Mudhomi alikuwa na hilo swali, wacha nimfuate mahali alipo. Robin, simama tafadhali.
Hello, my name is Robin Mudhomi, and my question is, does the constitution we have and the provisions therein aid in the growth of corruption, or does it deter it? Does our current constitution help? Because you have to know where the problem comes from.
All right. Yes. Gidongo, would you like to take that? Integrity, but still.
Well, I mean, the current chapter on integrity in the Constitution was watered down significantly by Parliament. From the original version that had been drafted. So that's unfortunate. I think the one provision which has been most damaging and deleterious, basically to what you call civic hygiene, to the conduct of politics and just civic engagement in Kenyan society in a manner that doesn't mean that we're taking all our problems to the DPP, EACC and others, has been that in Kenya conflict of interest was legalized by the Degwa Commission report in the 1970s, that politicians and their relatives can enter into business with government, and that is somehow seen as normal. So people, actually, you get elected not to represent people, but to make money, to steal, and then sometimes you get elected to protect what you have stolen in the past, and now you're seeing that there may be a threat to it. So that is the biggest gap, that conflict of interest is ingrained in our public service. So we hear and read of the relatives and politicians and the relatives of politicians and other public officials continuously involved in various forms of activity that gives them benefit, not only financial but other benefits through their interaction with the state.
All right.
That I think is an issue that is a huge stone on the entire, quote unquote, war against corruption in Kenya.
All right. Mashirima, so la mwisho sasa
ambalo Profesa Gesami alikuwa anasema ana swali hilo, lakini ngimpatie nafasi anaweza kuuliza matatu, nitamuulizia. Amemuuliza Daktari John Githongo, was Anglo leasing real? Manake Kenya inaendelea kulipa kampuni ambazo zilisemekana kuwa si za kweli. Ilikuwa kweli?
Thank you. No, Anglo leasing was real. The thing is, it has continued to be real. When I was in government, and the issue of Anglo leasing came up, it was investigated by the Anti-Corruption Police Unit. That was the precursor to what is now the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Officials were removed from office. Monies were returned. By then they were being returned by ghosts. We did not know who they were. They were not saying who they were, but they were patient. They waited for a political change, and then they sued the Kenya government. The ghosts sued the Kenya government. There's one time there was quite a lot of excitement that we were going to lose an embassy somewhere. I don't know whether it's in Switzerland or somewhere, because one of the Anglo leasing ghosts had appeared and was suing us for payment. You remember one of the first controversies around President Kenyatta when in 2013 was when he paid an Anglo leasing company, and he held a very impassioned press conference explaining that he had not wanted to do this because he was chairman of the Public Accounts Committee that investigated Anglo leasing, but he wanted the Eurobond, for the Eurobond to go through. They need to deal with this case. Okay. So Anglo leasing remains very much alive within government today, and continues ironically to earn money. Even as I'm sitting here, they continue to earn money every month. from Kenyan taxpayers.
We've really run out of time, but I want to get your final comments very briefly, starting from Steve. You've been incredibly quiet. Very briefly.
Kenyans must understand that they have unqualified obligation to support the war on graft. And the war on graft will be supported at an individual stroke personal level.
Okay.
The Constitution isolates public vigilance as one of the critical pillars undergirding its implementation. The other ones being independent institutions, the robust infrastructure, public litigation. Civic vigilance or civic responsibility or civic engagement is very necessary. But how can you support a war on graft that you don't believe in? You have to reach a level that you say as an individual, you're not going to be open to bribery.
Okay.
And I know Kenyans, just that I can't mention them, people who have refused to be subdued, to be cornered into paying bribes. So when you talk about corruption, they can ask you corruption. What corruption? I get arrested all the time, get detained, get inconvenienced. Until you get inconvenienced regularly, you will not be able to resist the own corruption.
All right.
But if you trade convenience with some 50 bob, 100 bob, you will perpetuate and corruption will continue to deepen.
Okay.
What the last point is that this didn't come out. The strategies for combating graft are three: preventive, disruptive, and punitive. The state agencies deal with the punitive strategies. Preventive has a component on the ballot,
okay,
and has a component on civic awareness and civic presence and civic responsibility. Disruptive is what ESCC has been doing, what the DP has been doing,
okay,
trying to those sting attacks before money is lost. Let us have a concerted effort. Let us not have a rushed process that achieves a political target without necessarily disturbing the base on the one graft.
All right, Madam Dorcas.
Well, for the DPP, we implement the law as it is.
Yeah.
And the message from the DPP is that we must be people of hope. We cannot fold our hands and say that we are very corrupt and it is difficult to have strategies, we cannot do it. Somebody must do something.
Okay.
And that is what the DPP has resolved, that the office of the DPP is going to use the laws that we have to fight corruption. In doing that, he must take into account the public interest. And that is the trickiest part. Because we have Kenyans who want him to lynch somebody within a day. We also have people who want him to not to take action against other people who he ought to take action against.
Yeah.
So he has to balance, and that balancing act is where the independence comes in. So he says that we must be people of hope, we must be people of integrity. As the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, we will fight the war without fear or favor, and we hope that Kenyans will join us in doing that.
All right. Vincent, very briefly.
Thank you from ESCC. We want to invite and encourage Kenyans to stand up and support the fight against corruption. You are in the front line of doing for lifestyle audits. When you see people amassing wealth at exponential rates, please report such matters to ESCC. We have offices all over Kenya now, and you're encouraged. If you give me a few minutes, I just share the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, so that when you get an opportunity to make a report to ESCC, please note these numbers. These are hotlines that you can use anytime to report any case of corruption. 0727 285 663. 0727 285 663. 0733 520 641. Those who are tech savvy, you can go on our website and also report corruption anonymously. You don't have to give us your name, just drop a report. We'll create a dialogue box. If you want to discuss with us online from a remote location, please feel free, but give us those reports. And much more importantly, please refuse to give a bribe or take a bribe as a Kenyan. That way, you will have fought corruption. 2, report cases of corruption.
Okay.
Very, very few Kenyans are reporting cases, and yet there's massive corruption happening in our counties.
Okay.
So I encourage you and invite you to support the war.
But Trevor, on that point also, the office of the DPP, and particularly the DPP, wants to thank Kenyans because we have gotten overwhelming support from Kenyans. They are giving information, they are giving leads as to where assets are, and even on evidence, and therefore we really want to support Kenyans because we have gotten overwhelming support. And we also want to confirm that we are getting the necessary support from all the arms of government that are supposed to support us.
All right, Gidongo, one line.
I think that unfortunately we are here again talking about corruption. Sadly, we are 2019, and in the last 7 years, never has so much been stolen from so many by so few so quickly. $66 billion has gone. When you combine what the Auditor General is saying, what media reports, and yet it has been accompanied by the greatest eloquence on the part of politicians in the fight against corruption. It has been accompanied by some of the most sophisticated institutions in the fight against corruption. And therefore, we've got to start asking ourselves, where is the disconnect? There's a dissonance here, where perhaps it is the thieves who are running the anti-corruption show in this town, and are like puppeteers, with us running around holding programs like this and discussions, trying to do good work, but actually they seem fairly comfortable in what they're doing. I feel that Wananchi realize that, and as we're seeing it politicized now, the challenge of starting an anti-corruption fight before an election is that it is politicized and ethnicized quickly and intensely, and that's what we're watching now. Usually, if you want to start an aggressive anti-corruption campaign, you do it just after you've been elected, and you have 24 months to do the most difficult parts. Now we have started an anti-corruption campaign, quote unquote, during the last 5 years of the current administration, and with the transition coming, people talking of a referendum, we have the census coming, so this is going to be extremely political. And so one of the things I would like to do is offer a good prayer, and it's good we are here at the Catholic University for Dorcas and the EACC for the kind of heat they are going to feel.
All right,
thank you.
That's a good place to leave it. Mashirima?
Na nadhani hapo ndo utasema kwa sababu Wakatoliki sasa hivi ni wakati wa Kwaresma, yani Lent, maombi yatakuwa hata zaidi. Naitwa Mashirima Kapombe na kutakia usiku mwema.
All right, and I'm Trevor Mbija. Always a pleasure having you with us. Special thanks to the Catholic University of Eastern Africa for bringing such gracious hosts. That wraps it up for the Monday Report and the Town Hall session. The fight against graft will continue to have these conversations until something is done. Thank you so much. We've seen a lot of feedback on social media, but because of time, we could not sample all of them. But Wahiga tried as well. We'll see you again next Monday. We'll talk about something different. We might be talking about something in your county. Stay with Citizen TV.